Hello there, viewer, subscriber, or who you may be. So you want to learn the Blind Monk, master the kicking playmaker. In other words, you want to play Lee Sin. Well, you come to the right guy. My name is MetZense, and in this video I'll teach you everything I can about Lee Sin. So listen closely. Bad pun, I know. I'll be going over runes, mastery, kick flashing, ward jumping, and what other possibly thing I can think of in order for you to improve on your Lee Sin. So on your screen right now, runes, masteries, kick flashing, ward jumping should be popping up, so you can skip ahead for that if that's what you're interested in. Otherwise, we're just gonna continue right on to the masteries. So glyphs, we got attack speed. Seals, we got some flat armor, and in quints we got flat attack damage, and in the marks the little interesting part comes. It is basically just flat AD, but we do have a little armor penetration in there. I'm gonna go over why when we get to the masteries, which we're gonna head over to now. Alright, so we're at the masteries now. We're gonna go with Fury and get that attack speed over the ability power. We're not gonna go for Feast since we have a really healthy sustain clear, first clear, so that's not really worth. Exposed weakness, nah, I'd rather get this extra damage, so double-edged sword is the way to go. We don't really benefit from the ability power. Well, we do from our shield, but that's not really worth. So we're gonna go with the lifesteal to give us an easier clear since we don't roll with Feast. And you can go for Oppressor, which slows whenever you do your E, or anybody else do some kind of CC, which is more sustainable, which is more reliant, pretty much. And the Bounty Hunter is pretty good if you do feel like you're gonna get a lot of kills early mid-game-ish. If not, well, Oppress is always the way to go, at least in my world. You can go for the Wonder, but we're Lee Sin, so we're gonna go for the attack damage, since we're gonna deal more auto attacks since we got Fury. We're gonna go with Runic Affinity to get the buffs from neutral monsters, such as the Crocs, the Raptors, and yeah, red buff, blue buff, and Grump. Gotta remember that one. The next one kind of speaks for itself. We're not gonna go for meditation since we don't really use mana, so we're gonna go for Merciless. Also, dangerous game. Gonna get that 5% and more health from every kill or assist. We want that over that one little gold we're gonna get whenever we gank somebody. Now we take precision here because we are gonna get some armor pen, and that's why in the runes I said we got 5.1 armor pen, since I think most of the camps in the jungle do have like around 10 armor, so we're basically gonna do true damage around level 2 or 3. And Storm Raider Surge, we don't really, we're pretty nimble, so we got a Warch to jump to, we got a Q we can reactivate. We don't really need the Storm Raider Surge, so we're gonna go for Thunderlords, get that extra bit of damage. Windspeaker's Blessing, well, if you haven't figured out why we're not going for that one, then alright. So, instead of all this boring stuff in the client, let's jump in game and let's see what it's all about. Kick flashing is usually like really like it's a cool looking thing, but it also can catch your opponent off guard because they have little to like pretty much no reaction time at all, and if you can bait them into a turret range, then it's pretty much an ensured kill, and especially if your team follows up. A good way to learn kick flashing and practice it is actually against bots. When kick flashing, note that the damage dealt from the kick into other persons are pretty much greater the more health the enemy has that you kick. So try to kick more tanky targets into squishy targets, and you should deal a lot more damage and are able to assassinate people that way. Which leads us to the next combo, Insect. It's pretty difficult to pull off, but you can do it, and you can practice against bots to get the muscle memory of it. Most of the times, either people will flash from it or you're gonna get the kill from it. And if you can pull it off already, then I would say you're doing pretty great at Lee Sin. Now, to do our Insect pretty smooth, we want to be able to ward jump pretty smooth. To do that, I've learned from Gripix, a pretty good Lee Sin player, that he uses mouse button 4 or 5 on his mouse to actually place the trinket down. So I've started doing the same, and with a little bit of practice, you can become pretty damn smooth at it. So, Lee Sin has a very sustainable clear, and to show that, I'm gonna do pretty much a full clear I would usually do before I head over to gank somebody, without any kind of leash. I'm gonna get a little bit low, but I'm gonna grab the scuttle, and that should put us around 60-70% of our full health, and we should be ready to do a good gank for somebody. Alright, now that we had the combos pretty much learned, the ward jumping and whatnot, let's put it to the test. And I'm gonna be showing you a couple of clips here with me actually doing it. A good successful kick flash on their enemy AD carry, and in the top lane I do catch their jungler kinda off guard, and I do manage to kill him and do pretty much flawless ward jump, if I may say so myself. It was pretty neat. So, some enemies will know that you want to try Q them to, I don't know, like do a Q or jump, kick them, and then recast your Q or whatever. So they're trying to dodge your Q and keep zigzagging. So you can kind of close the gap, but just by running to them and then kick them and then finish them off with your Q, or however the situation is. Alright, now that we've been going through mainly most of the things that I do know about Lee Sin and how to do it, I just quickly want to go over building. So at least for now, this is my usually kind of build, which looks a bit messy for you, but I'll go over it and explain it real quick. You start the Hunter's Machete and refillable potion and a warding totem. The longsword is there because if we can't buy a Tiamat straight off on our first pack, we'll probably just go for a couple of longswords. We want to get a Tracker's Knife and build that into a Cinderhulk. Pretty much afterwards we gotten a Tiamat. You figure out whenever you feel like, yo, I'm gonna need some boots. It's probably around after you get a Tiamat, like, you know, if you get killed or whatever, you get 300 gold, you spend it or whatnot. Right after, I usually rush for a Asterix gauge. If that's not really an option, because, I don't know, we're stomping the enemy team, I want to go for a Ravenous Hydra. If that's not a possibility, because we're behind or whatever, I usually go for the Titanic Hydra to get a little bit more tanky. If we're doing well and such, we might be glancing over the Black Cleaver to get the cooldown reduction and some armor penetration. That's always good. Let's say the enemy ADC is pretty heavily fed, then we probably want to go for Deadman's Blade. But if the enemy AD carry is, let's say, who's a good one? Caitlyn, for instance. She's building a lot of crit and Infinity Edge, and she has a Phantom Dance or whatnot. You want to go for Randuin's Omens, since it blocks 10% of the critical damage. Also, you can get Ninja Tabi if that's the case. Boots, I just let them be boots, because it's kind of up to you. You need cooldown reduction, you go Lucidity or something like that. Usually, I'm doing pretty well, so I usually go Swifties. But otherwise, if the enemy team's got a lot of CC, you want to get those Merc Treads. If they're heavily fed on 80, you go for Ninja Tabi. It's pretty straightforward. Elixirs, you need to be tanky, you go for the Iron one. If not, you go for the Wrath and get that extra 80 life deal. So, practice your combos, trying to go for the mages, the AD carries, the squishy targets, and in teamfights, try to kick them into your team, and if you build sort of tanky, perhaps you can get out of it. Maybe you won't, but it'll be worth, or whatever, you decide, depending on the situation. And yeah, I'm gonna have a Lee Sin montage coming up soon, so watch out for that. Otherwise, I hope you learn something and will improve on your Lee Sin. If you found anything helpful or whatever, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more of me, and yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one.